keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.
I mean, it's a lot of, things we can do in the inner city to just bring, happiness to children. It's a lot of kids in poverty. I have a foundation, Baseball Generation Foundation, where, we're in inner cities working with these kids. And for me on the baseball side, we can do tons of things that way. I like to set up Toys for Tots drives during the off season, especially for the Christmas times, do stuff for, Thanksgiving, give back to like the homeless. I like to just give my time, because that's the thing, like money is just material things. And, I didn't grow up with money, so that shit doesn't mean nothing to me. If you could give her time, that's the thing that matters. So that's why I feel so emotional about it, because, people get their money and they leave. Can't do that. You gotta be there for the children that's coming up after us. So, I think that's the biggest thing. And if you give her time, that's the only way we can change.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City, a very different type of show. We are streaming on all social media platforms, Keys to the City, as well as YouTube. Check us out there, Keys to the City. Joseph, I know you're there. Come on and join in. This is every week we come on for the past couple months. We've been talking sports. And this is what we do. For the past 3 years, this is what we do. We talk about the one thing that we are so passionate about. This has been a year for unprecedented times, surreal times, historic, for the good and for the bad. The bad because of COVID. It's been bad throughout. This 2020 is a year that we'll all never forget for the wrong reasons. 2020, COVID-19, still going on. You got the police brutality, the killings, the bad. But there is good. And the good came yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm glad Joseph McGuire has the time to join us, as always, Joe. Thank you so much. We had a couple months ago, we did a special, all of us at Clovercrest Media, a very personal and a very, like we used to say, uncomfortable conversation, because it is an uncomfortable conversation. As you can see, we are three Caucasian men talking about something that we don't know fully all about because of the factor that our skin color. Look at us. We're not African Americans, ladies and gentlemen. And we did it when the George Floyd incident happened. And I was irate. I know Ted was irate. Joe, I know you've been irate since this has happened in 2016 with the whole Colin Kaepernick issue as well. Back then, we had a different view on things. Me and Ted, we were ignorant. We were naive. I think we've come around the corner and start to realize that this is bigger than anything. It's bigger than sports.
Well, I was naive because at the time we had related the Colin Kaepernick thing to an American flag and to the military, when really at the end of the day, now his point makes so much more sense. Listen, did I agree with it at the time? No.
We both did.
Do I still not agree with the name? No, but I understand it. I do understand it. I'm not stupid and say, hey, listen, this is the way I feel and I can't change. I can bend, I can understand. What kills me is we have to talk about these things. It's almost like the school shootings, where we were talking about it every other week. This stuff that we're going to talk about today, and the stuff about school shootings and all that stuff, we should not be talking about at all. It should not even be in existence or imagination to even have a topic to talk about, but we are.
It is. It's easier said than done, because we shouldn't be talking. We should be talking about the thing that we love.
Talk about games that happened yesterday.
We're usually very cheerful. We're very energetic when we come onto these shows. When all three of us on, we have energetic conversations, great conversations. But this is a different conversation, and we had it a couple months ago. Once the George Floyd incident happened back in May. Now we're in August, and we have another situation. And there has been plenty since, as Tyron Matthews said, 20 police shootings since the whole George Floyd incident. Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia. Jacob Blake is the most recent. This has been going on, ladies and gentlemen. To me, I know it's been going on in the city. It's been ever. Racism has been going on forever. But for me, as a younger person in this generation, this really all started with Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman a long time ago. It's just been going on since. Eric Gardner. I mean, it's just continuously going on. And the thing that ticks me off, if anybody that just saw that clip at the beginning of our show of Dominic Smith, New York Mets, I don't know if is he an outfielder?
No, first baseman.
Okay. First baseman took a knee last night, and you could see the emotion. Doc Rivers the other night, you could see the emotion. If that was a father was a cop. If that doesn't piss you off, if that doesn't, it just gets you very sad and brings you and it doesn't bother you. There's your problem, ladies and gentlemen. Plain and simple. There's your problem. You are the problem. You don't want to make change. And Colin Cowell made a great point. The toughest thing in the world right now is change. Nobody wants to change in the world. We want to still live in the 1960s. This is not the 1960s anymore. We don't get this nowadays. And we posted something today about history yesterday. 4 professional sports leagues postponed games, boycotted games because of this shooting. MLS, WNBA, MLB, and first off, the NBA. Bravo to the Milwaukee Bucks. And the player that we will always remember of this day is not LeBron James. It's Giannis Antetokounmpo because, well, he's the face of the Milwaukee Bucks. He's the one that makes the main decision. He's the one that said, we're not going out. No matter – when you think of the Bucks, you think of Giannis. He's the first guy that comes to mind.
I'm asking if you
George Hill.
George,
I'm not saying any name, but that guy – somebody said that, and I do – it's not LeBron. It's guys like George Hill because they were the first to do it. Those guys, Toronto and Boston, they were thinking about doing it. The Lakers, I thought, were going to do it. But it was the Milwaukee Bucks who came out and started this whole situation. And for anybody that doesn't have an issue and says, who cares? It's not a big deal. Well, you're the problem, plain and simple. You're ignorant. That's why the country's the way it is. You don't want this country to survive. You don't want to be here. I know there's people that are older than us. But what about the future? What about grandkids? What about our kids? What about our great-grandkids? What about down the line? Are we going to eat each other alive and we're not going to be around in another 100 years because we just don't want to change and adapt? And I don't care if anybody that's watching right now, I don't care if this offends you. It's plain and simple. What's right and what's wrong. I have my beliefs. I'll never have changed my beliefs, but I know what's right and I know what's wrong. And for anybody that knows us, and we talked about this when we had this George Floyd, Joe, and I'll get you in a minute, is I came from an old school family. We have old school parents, but we have parents that taught us about respect, never look at anybody differently.
Yeah, but we can't speak from ourselves because the problem is we have been taught right, but not everyone else has.
I get that.
And there's a lot of when we talk about the COVID, the problem is we live in a generation that you can't tell me anything. How many times you hear a kid tell me, you can't tell me what to do. You can't. No, I'm a parent. I could do anything I want.
Here's another thing that I want to say. Hold on. Here's another thing that I want to say. Thank you, Tommy Lawrence. I appreciate it. If you don't care about all of this, right? Okay. Go tell your African-American friends that too. Everybody has. I have African-American friends. Joe has African-American friends. Ted has that. We all have African. We have cousins. So for anybody that wants to say, oh, who cares because it's basketball or it's hockey or it's sports, it doesn't matter. Go tell that to your best friend that you've probably known for 30, 40 years. Tell them you don't care, okay? It's easy. It's easy for us, and I said this before the show, Joe, it's easy for us to get into a car and say bye to our kids and say bye to our wife. What about the African-American race? What about the people that get into those cars and might not ever be able to get a chance to say bye to their kids because you just never know? And that's what pisses me off. That's what ticks me off. And shame on the people that want to say nobody cares, because you know what? The more you say it, the more you're going to continuously show that you're part of the problem and you're not the solution. And the reason why we're still having issues is because of you. And I don't care if you have a problem with me. I love all you guys. I'll never have my I'll never change on your views. But guess what? What's right is what's wrong. Joe, please chime in. I'm sorry that we waited almost 10 minutes to get you in.
Well, he didn't also talk to Joe. Joe, remember when we were supposed to communicate?
No, I'm sorry.
Listen, first of all, let me say this.
I'm getting this.
Let me say this.
I want to get this off my chest.
I'm very proud of you guys.
They are resuming the playoffs starting tomorrow. Hockey has postponed tonight. The MLB don't know if there's any.
There is going to be baseball. Baseball is going on.
Some games
yes,
that are
hockey's
postponed?
canceled today.
Yes,
basketball's
hockey
canceled.
just came out recently.
Tennis is canceled.
Okay.
Baseball will be playing games.
Hockey,
Joe, I can't believe I was able to
soccer?
stay quiet for all that.
Joe, you guys, please. I just spoke enough. Both of you, chime in. Whoever wants to go in. Joe,
28 years ago, I remember watching Rodney King get the daylights beaten out of him by 15 cops. And it was the first time we'd ever seen police brutality caught on videotape. And to think that 28 years later, and as you just said so well there a minute ago, Trevor, 20 shootings since George Floyd. Like, are you guys kidding me?
And it doesn't bother you,
Joe. You know, one of my I was talking. Sorry to interrupt, real quick. And it's funny you brought the Rodney King, and it's so weird you said that. So I'm talking with one of my boys, one of the coworkers from last night, African American. So we're just talking about the sports and talking. I said, it's crazy. I said, I can't believe it. I said, I just don't understand, where we're going. And he goes, to think about that Rodney King thing. He goes, I almost wish I'd rather be the Rodney King guy and get beat up by a bunch of cops and have to worry about getting shot like today. And what I mean? Like, to think like that's even a thought process. Like, I'd rather get beat up by a bunch of cops than have to worry about some cop shooting me now.
It just shows that.
I'm not trying to make light of it. I'm just
this
thought process of where we've gone from one point and we've actually gone worse.
It also shows
because we're taking lives.
Those guys were beating him up. These cops nowadays are so trigger happy, that they're pulling out and shooting people just because.
You think you would have a little more self-awareness.
That's the problem. You have spoiled kids nowadays that never got a chance to live their life, and now they got an opportunity with a weapon. Now they feel the power. Joe?
Here's the whole thing. When they restarted the NBA, obviously Black Lives Matter was pretty much front and center. You're seeing it all over the jerseys, and I mean, it's a good thing. And I mean, obviously, look, we know the NBA is 95, 98% African American.
I think it's 90% African American.
Again, it like it matters. You know what I mean? Yeah. Bottom line is, and we talked about this before the show. And like I said, I'm proud of you guys for. Look, I know where you stand politically in your beliefs, but to see something like you said, you see humans being mistreated. That doesn't take any partisanship. Nobody should like that. Now, at the same time, I also want to say, look, you can still be pro-police.
Yes.
I don't know why people feel like it's got to be a choice between supporting Black Lives Matter or supporting the police. We're better than that, right? We can support both.
That's what it's become, is that we got to pick a side now. So if I start talking, if I think people start thinking I'm talking bad about the cops, I'm pro BLM. I can support these protesters. I can support these peaceful protesters, but I can also support cops. I have former cops in my family that have worked it, that have done it, that have seen it all. I still love them. I still support them. I still support cops. I don't support bad cops. I don't support bad.
Just like anything else, I don't support bad people.
I don't support bad people. There's bad white people out in the world.
There's bad people everywhere.
There's bad animals. It's just, what I mean?
Sometimes
you get a dog who's just really bad, and there's nothing you do until you get good. Like, I know you're like, that's stupid, but I'm just saying that's what we live in a world where there's good and bad out there. Okay, it's part of the nature of the ball game since the human life has developed and evolution had started millions or whatever thousands of years ago.
Millions.
Use that millions would be the dinosaurs.
I'd say millions.
You know what I mean? Millions. But Joe, we were talking before the show, and I'll bring the subject up because that's what I was talking about. So yesterday, when the games were postponed, I was shocked. I couldn't believe they were postponed. I was shocked. I was like, why are they postponing the games? And I didn't understand, but then I'm like, I understand. But this is what I was trying to say to you before the show, and then we'll talk about this, and you guys can interrupt me and then have other people who's commented. I said they should not postpone this season. They shouldn't postpone the games. And because I said it's not going to change anything today or what happened in the last thousands of years, okay? It's not going to take the 7 bullets out of the guy's back. It's not going to bring back George Floyd's life. It's probably not going to change something that might happen in a month from now or 2 weeks from now or the end of the weekend.
About a week?
It's not going to change because some idiot's still going to make that mistake of shooting someone and killing someone. What they got to do, though, is they have to continue to play sports because their biggest asset is being front and center on TV, to have the microphone, to have millions of people being able to watch them, to have TNT, NBA TNT to talk about it, then to talk about it after the game in post conferences. Well, LeBron came. They were saying the other day, when the coach from the Clippers, Doc Rivers, had an opportunity to talk about the game, and he was really upset about what had occurred with Mr. Blake. Mm-hmm. If he was just home and he tweeted it out or Instagram message, yeah, it probably still would have got 1 million views. But it would not have the significant impact that it would have has on TV, because what happened is now it's through all social media, and the platform is so much greater. And I think if they do not continue to play sports, I think you let the bully win. Because they're like, hey, we got you. But if you continue to play sports, you show them that we are stronger, that we are going to continue to fight, that we're going to continue to use sports as our message board, our propaganda going forward. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch sports. No one's forcing you. If you do like it, continue to watch for what it is and what it's going to be, because if you're not going to be the change, then you are the problem.
Let me interrupt in this and say, I know a lot of people go on social media and complain about their job, right? Complain about life, because that's what everybody does now. We got to know everybody's life on social media. I see it all the time. Let me be honest, it's freaking annoying. I don't need to know about everybody's life. So it's all right for you people, and I'm saying you people, I don't care.
Are you using the word you people?
Utes? No, seriously. You could go on and bitch and moan about stuff, but when LeBron James or Giannis Antetokounmpo or I'm just naming some of the major. I'm just naming some of the major stars. That's it. They could hold on. When they could come out and all of a sudden, oh well, he should shut up his mouth and go play. What's wrong with that? Where's the
more educated?
Where's the middle ground? Trust me, LeBron James is an intelligent human being. Probably more intelligent than most of the people that go on social media and complain about their life.
I would say more.
Yeah, I would say majority of it. That's my point, is that how can you say that? How can you complain all the time, but let somebody else, when they do it, oh, he can't do it. He's not right. He's an athlete. It's just so, I don't get it. So I don't get it.
So Laura Ingraham, you'll recall last year, told LeBron James to shut up and dribble. When Drew Brees came out a few months ago with his controversial statements and still attributed the protest to the military and the flag, Laura Ingraham was quick to say Drew Brees has every right to speak his mind. Okay? And I won't even say this is a racist thing as much as this was a guy supporting her belief, and the other guy wasn't. And so that guy should speak, that guy shouldn't.
Hypocritical.
Well, sure, and I find it interesting. There's a lot of liberals who get upset when some of these provocateurs like Ben Shapiro go speak on campuses, right? And the argument is you should let all these views be heard. Well, absolutely you should. People have a right to different opinions, and we get that. Exactly. I think we are, and I think you guys are with me on this. I think that's why we've had the breakthrough we've had here on Keys to the City, and bless your hearts, you guys. I think it's amazing.
Well,
Look.
We know it's right. Let me finish.
This isn't a political issue, and it shouldn't be, you guys, and you know this. You're good dudes, you're good people, and at the end of the day, the decision isn't political here. The decision is human beings, and in many cases, friends of ours and people we love and care about. And they're being mistreated. They've been talking about how mistreated they are. They've been doing these protests. And again, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I've been on their side since day one. When Kaepernick knelt down, like, this guy's making good points. Let's do something about it. And kudos to the NBA for putting their money where their mouth is. And same thing with the NFL. These leagues have put money into organizations that are important to the players with the idea of, hopefully one day eradicating racism, which is probably an unrealistic goal, unfortunately.
No, it'll never happen. There will always be racism. It's always been and always will, because it's just the nature of the human being. I mean, we're cruel people. Listen, we kill animals. We do dirty things. We are animals. We have no sense of care for anything.
Life
sometimes. And I'm not surprised anymore. I'm really not no more. I think about the day, and I'm not bringing a crazy thing, but you think about like school shootings, like when people go in, like the thing that happened right in our neighborhood. We see all these things, like the Sandy Hook thing, like.
Oh, how about last night? How about last night? The 18-year-old kid, or however old he is,
17-year-old
the little punk kid that walked up the street shooting people with an assault rifle. I don't know exactly what gun it was.
AR-15.
Exactly, assault rifle. And what happened to him? Where is the justice in all of it? Where is the right and wrong? I mean, you're shooting a guy.
Some of these states are so
you shot a man
with
7 times. I don't care who you are. You shot a man 7 times. 7 times. For what?
There was 3 guys you couldn't have done anything.
If you were really that scared, then why are you being on this job? This is a tough job to be a cop nowadays. It's tough to be a cop, but also these cops are not helping their case right now.
You should have a little self-awareness.
And look, for anybody that's still watching, look, I'm not going to change who I am. I still love everybody, but it just comes down to straight right from wrong. And I've been saying it, and I keep saying it. We have to find some sort of peace, but instead of destruction for this country to survive. Do you want, like, I love America. I don't know about you two, but I love America.
Yeah, the problem
not
is
right now, not in the current place.
I know,
America
but here's the
right
problem:
now because it's not
on the other side are going, who are on the other side that are feeling the heat from the other side are like, screw the cops, F the cops. And that's the problem. We can't be F the cops, and we can't be F the BLM, the Black Lives Matter. Okay, I'm just gonna say no because I'm saying BLT, because I'm always thinking about food. Okay, I can't help myself. It's
Ted somehow manages.
I gotta keep
a little levity to the situation. That's good.
When I was thinking about going for a cop, and my uncle Ed, who had 27 years service in the Brantford Police Department, used to tell me. They used to call him Senator Ed, and the joke was because he can use his mouth to talk anyone down, and would talk so much that people are like, all right, I give up. I got you. Just give me the ticket, and I'll go home. Here's the thing. As an officer, you have this. God gave you a mouth to use it. Use your voice to help calm the situation, okay? Then you have physical tactics. There's wrestling maneuvers. There's other ways of maneuvering and taking a person down. Then you have a baton. Then you have a taser. The last thing you should ever have to do is pull out your gun. It should be locked in a holster with a safety key, okay? He said if you have to pull out your gun more than once in your career, that's a lot. You should never have to pull out your gun because it's a last resort. It means because now it becomes a self-defense thing because you have to protect yourself from dying yourself because someone is using force or attack mode against you, and however, if it's coming to attack you with a knife, a gun, whatever. So for these cops to understand what is going on, I'm not even an officer, but I would have some self-awareness to go, there's a situation right now, okay? I am not good. The last resort I want to do is pull out my gun and shoot someone, considering what is transpiring the last 3 months. Not that 3 months is going to change the last 6 years, but think about what's happened. You're like, all right, I should not pull out my gun. I got 3 officers. Trev, we're going to tackle this guy, okay? We're going to find a way to take him down without pulling our guns out. Or if you're going to go, hey, you're going to do what you do on this back of the show. You're going to hit me in the back of the head and say, hey, wake up, kid. What are you doing? You have to think smarter than that. And I don't want to hear, well, he was armed. He wasn't armed all the way walking to the car. And if he was, you should have pulled out your taser and tased him down and then got on top of him and handcuffed him. But he was there breaking up a domestic violence thing between 2 women. The whole situation is so... I saw the video. It killed me. I'm like, I can't watch the end of this.
I can't watch videos like that anymore because it ticks me off. It just pisses me off. It's disgusting. It's sad. It's tragic. Well, how much more pain can this whole entire race deal with for you to have some kind of heart and say, okay, it's time to make some kind of help them out. Please
help the cops to help the people
and stop with the all lives matter, because if you keep saying all lives matter, you don't, because you just sound like an idiot. Because if all lives matter, then
all lives have always mattered. That's the point. They always have mattered. Black, white, green, blue, yellow, they all matter.
That's the problem. They're not, because it's not happening. If you think all lives matter, it's not true. It's not true.
So you know what? Real quick, there's a story in the Bible. Maybe you know it. There's the shepherd. He's got his 100 sheep, and one of the flock leaves and gets lost. And he eventually tracks it down like on the edge of a cliff, and he saves it and he brings it back. And the rest of the herd is like, you just left us all here, the 99 of us, and you went after that one. You know, we were the loyal ones. This is the dope that sort of veered off. And the shepherd points out, that's the one that needed my help. So, yeah, I mean, all lives matter. Of course they do, and they always have. And white lives in this country matter a lot. Yeah. You see that if you ever watch the news. There's murders in Connecticut all the time, guys. Which ones make the news? When it's Florence Doulos' wife from the suburbs, that's a story. When it's a black kid in Hartford, nobody gives a crap. That's the sad reality of the way this state works. And this is one of the good states. Okay? Imagine how the rest of this country is behaving. So, we've backed ourselves into a corner here, and I worry that the murder of innocent civilians has become a partisan politics issue, and I think when that sort of things happen, I think we've kind of lost our way here. We're all Americans, and it's an absurd thought. If anybody thinks that liberals are out to destroy America, boy, you might want to recheck your news sources. Like, they've got different viewpoints than you, but it's an absurd thought. And I caution, my mother is very prone to getting really bad news, poor, very biased right-wing news, and she gets freaked out. And I said simply, listen, I go, if you're afraid of Nancy Pelosi or AOC, Ocasio-Cortez, do yourself a favor. Like, legit, don't listen to what Ben Shapiro tells you these people are saying. Watch a video. Watch an entire speech from, and if you still think these people want to destroy America, call me and we'll talk about it. You got to get your news straight from the sources. This isn't like one side wants to destroy America and the other side wants to protect it. We got to stop thinking that way. We got to stop looking at murders and deciding based on our political party whether
that's what the media does. They say, Joe, if you're
I saw a 7-year-old Trump supporter get roughed up the other day. That's not cool. We can't be doing that kind of crap. That's a little kid.
It's like if you're a Trump supporter, you're no good, and if you're on the other side, you're good. But it shouldn't be like that. Like, I'll just joke. On the dating sites, there's a bunch of girls that says you should not go out with me if you're a Trump supporter. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it where, like, hey, if you support the Republican or Trump, you're a bad person. Really? That makes me a bad person because I support him? Just because I maybe I agree with some of his policies, even though I want to slap him around because he's like a little girl with a big mouth.
Say that again.
Listen, I'm not a bad person. If you know me, I'm not a bad person. And here's the thing: if I'm a Biden supporter, I'm not like I don't support other things. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have a little bit of both.
Got to have a balance.
I mean,
I would say, too, you should always be objective. Guys, we come on here and we talk about the Yankees a lot, right? And when the Yankees are playing well, we talk positively. When they're struggling, we break things down and we criticize what needs to change.
We'll be talking in a few minutes.
And there's no reason why people in political parties, left and right, can't be a little objective at times and be like, hey, that guy's doing the wrong thing, even though he's on my side. You're exactly right. Ted, that's how it's got to be. We all have to call out the wrong, and we have to put politics aside. When wrong is wrong, Trevor, like you said, you got to call it out and you got to fix it.
We need to come together as a country, Joe, because if not, we're going to, as Heath Ledger once said, these civilized people are going to eat each other. And right now, this is what happens. This is what's going on. We're literally killing our own. We're literally 60, 70 years. I want to be around. I want to have my kids around. I want to have my grandkids. I want to have them enjoy this future.
I almost feel like I don't want to have kids in this world.
But with this future, how are we supposed to with all this
nonsense?
This hate. It's not nonsense. It's hate. It's sadness. It's pain.
Nonsense is
I mean, it's easy. It's easy for us to wake up each and every day and just go into our car and live our regular life. It's not for the average African American. And
the last point,
we can't say that because we're not.
The last point I want to make is, look, if you're a fan of any of these players in any of these teams, please don't take that like if they're going to protest, then I'm just going to stop watching. These protests will stop eventually. Why don't you show some of these people the respect of allowing them to use their platform to educate you on their life experiences? Again, you could be open-minded. You have a right to disagree with them. You might even change your mind if you go in open-minded, but to suggest that you would give up on somebody who you sort of idolize or look up to or derive great pleasure from watching, again, to extend LeBron James the courtesy of listening to him speak when he certainly backed up both financially and just by speaking out, right? I mean, I find it. And again, we talked about this at the top of the show, not to make this political at all, but Donald Trump called out LeBron James despite all the great things LeBron James does, and I thought that was awful.
When he's got a flawless record,
he's got a flawless record, and I think look, when we have a country that's divided, and you point out that Trump can be a big baby sometimes, going after professional athletes and actors, and I mean that the pettiness has to stop. And when the pettiness is happening at the top, it's hard to ask people at the bottom to not be so petty. I think we need our leaders in general, both sides, to start getting along better. And I think people will start behaving better. People will fall in line.
LeBron said it best. We need we need the owners, the higher ups, to start taking some. Yeah, just start doing something, putting their foot down and start making something happen. Because until those guys, those rich billionaires don't, you're going to have the same issues. These players are going to continuously voice their displeasure, their sadness, their pain. And
I'm glad they're going
their anger. And you know what?
I'm glad they're playing.
And good for them for doing what they did yesterday. Bravo to them, because that's sacrifice. That's a lot. That takes a lot. Trust me. And 4 years ago, Colin Kaepernick, I would have said something differently. Now I sit here and say, hey, when you see your own die getting killed, or
because every week we're seeing the same thing.
Getting paralyzed
every week, and it's just getting
when
sickening.
There's continuous bad negativity that's already been dumped on us in this entire year that's still going on. We still have another 4 months to go, and I don't know what those next 4 months are.
I'm just sick of seeing it, and it's sad. And that's it.
It's just. And like I said, if you didn't see the Dominic Smith video, if you didn't see Doc Rivers video, and you don't have some type of heart, then shame on you.
All you gotta see is any video.
It's just the pain, the tears, the sadness. This is what they go through every day. It's easy for us to just say no one cares. Well, we do. We're talking about it, and if you don't like it, tough, plain and simple.
Everybody's got to be outraged, and everybody should be outraged. And when enough of us are outraged, they'll do something about it. We all want life to get back to normal with COVID, with the riots, the protests, and everything. And the only way all of those things are going to be fixed is if the people that lead this country get their act together, start working together, show some leadership, show some unity, and maybe, again, the country can all sort of follow that lead. It would be great. But for now, it's these players. And it's celebrities that are stepping up and taking the mantle, and kudos to all of those people.
And let me say the last thing. Oh, sorry. Last thing is, I guarantee all these players, the ones that you want to all criticize, you think they're supporting the looters that are destroying these cities, burning down places? You think they're supporting them? No. If you think so, then you better get your head out of your ass. Plain and simple. Because they're not. They're just trying to be peaceful. They're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to send the right message. They do not support. I guarantee, that they do not support these looters, these rioters that are destroying our country. I bet we all can agree on that. Plain and simple.
No one agrees.
What do you mean no one agrees?
No one agrees that that's a.
Well, they might take that as they might. Some people might say, "Oh, that's the reason why we." I know. I'm not. I'm closing out with that.
All I'm saying is, and I said it to you before. The problem is we all have a natural prejudice, okay? And so when you see that and you see the type of actions that they do, you go, well, there they are again. That's them again. That's
what it says.
And it's like you just relate the Black Lives Matter to the looters and everything because, hey, they're all black and whatever. But that's not true.
It's like the same thing with cops. Oh, you see a video like Jacob Blake, and guess what? All cops are bad. It's not the case.
There's more good cops and there's more good people than there is.
We have to do better. We need to do better as a country because if not, it's going to be a dark, dark, dark future. And I don't know how much longer it's going to be around, especially with all this sadness, plain and simple. Joe, let's switch over to the MLB and the New York Yankees. Well, the New York Yankees they're in a bit of a rough patch right now. We're 27 games in, coming up on halfway through midseason, and I'm going to revert back to what I said at the beginning of the year. And Ted, you jumped on me and said, what are you talking about? Aaron Boone. This is where we talked about it countless times.
What did he do wrong now?
No, I'm not blaming him for anything.
All right.
I'm not blaming him for anything. You got to hear me out before. Let me finish.
Well, that's why I threw the
Let
comment
me finish. Let me finish, though. This is the situations that I was talking about. You're on a 5-game losing streak. Your team is struggling. You're dealing with a lot of key pieces out right now. How are you going to handle this going forward, knowing that your team is struggling? You are on a 5-game losing streak.
Didn't this happen last year?
This is a different season. This is not another 130 games, man. I already told you this.
I know, but he physically can't do anything, Travis.
I know he can't, but I'm saying he has to make the right decision. He physically can't. He mentally has to put the right pieces on the field every time they step on the diamond.
So I watched both games yesterday. They got swept yesterday by the Braves in 2 games. So the first game, they got swept 5-1. They only had 1 hit. Boy had the hit in the home run. He's been great.
He's been unbelievable this year.
The Cardinals would love to have him, huh? He looked pretty good for the Yankees on a trade. Another great job by Cashman finding a diamond in the rough, they say.
Yeah.
This is a Yankee thing. I told you before, and I texted this. Joe, you'll know what I'm talking about. Every time a rookie pitcher who's never pitched in the major leagues comes up to pitches against the Yankees, he pitches like a no-hitter. He pitches great. You can look it up. I'm telling you, I can't think of it. There was a couple years ago, a Yankees team, a guy came up from Detroit or Seattle. He had like 6 innings, 2-hit ball, and the team won. The Yankees, it's weird because they have no scouting reports like they have. And then the second game, so they got crushed in the first game, whatever. They couldn't hit anything. If the ball was a volleyball, they wouldn't have hit the ball. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem. If you can't hit, you can't win games because it's just like basketball. If you can't score points, you don't win. Mm-hmm. The second game, they were up 1. They were winning. And Green was pitching.
Tanaka was pitching, and Boone took him out.
Which was fine. Yeah. Green came in. And like they always say in baseball, a bloop and a blast, and just like that, you're winning the game. And that's what happened. Swanson got the bloop in, base hit single, and then it was a great outside fastball showing. But Freddie Freeman, the great hitter he is, the all-star player he is, took it deep. And in a doubleheader where there's only 7 innings, they lose. In 9 innings, maybe the Yankees come back and win that game, but it's unfortunate. That's not on Aaron Boone that Freddie Freeman hits a 2-run shot and they split the series yesterday.
I'm not blaming.
I know that, but I'm just saying.
I've seen a lot.
You can't hit.
I've seen a lot on Twitter that Yankees.
Tyler Wade doesn't hit the ball. Miguel Andujar doesn't hit the ball. You told me today Sanchez has 9 hits. You told me. Is that correct?
Joseph.
You told me he has 9 hits all season.
Joseph.
Is that true?
Joseph.
Like, you know this. If the Yankees can't hit the ball,
Joe, you might have to owe me another. You might have to owe me.
You're probably right.
If the Yankees can't hit the ball, you can't win, man. I don't care.
No,
like Garrett Cole, that's another issue. He's giving up a lot of home runs.
3 home runs yesterday. 3 home runs yesterday. I know it's struggling,
it's frustrating,
and it's different because we are in a shortened season. We are almost halfway up throughout this season. We're coming up to 30 games. So the Yankees right now are 16-11. We have to figure something out. I've seen a lot on Twitter, Joe. Do the Yankees go make a move? Clevenger, Lance Lynn, just some of the names that I saw. Do the Yankees, with discomfort of being with the Yankees right now, not getting enough pitching, and he wants to get paid, and that whole issue that the Yankees are going to deal with, Paxton's still struggling a little. What should the Yankees do moving forward? Should the Yankees look to go get some kind of pitcher? And if so, who's going to be the odd man out? Is it Frazier? Is it Andujar? You tell me. I feel like Joe. I got to get Joe in here.
Well, let me tell you a couple things. First of all, in addition to being 16-11, they're actually 9-10 against anybody that's not the last place Red Sox. So that is also really bad news right now for this team. To me, the problem right now is the hitting. I think finally all these bats not being in the lineup are starting to take their toll on the Yankees. Obviously, there's the serious matchup problem that we've seen over and over again now with the Tampa Rays. Tough day yesterday for the Yankees. Not the best start from Garrett Cole. That streak had to end eventually. I think everybody knew that. You can't complain about the way Tanaka threw the ball. I know everyone thinks that Tanaka got taken out too soon. He actually went to Booney at 66 pitches and said he was feeling a little bit gassed. That's what prompted the decision by Boone to bring in Green. So, I've seen a couple of times this year where we've seen Boone make the mistake of leaving the starter in for too long, which has always been our biggest criticism of him. He pulls starters too long, but when he leaves them in, it's easy to second guess him and also freak out. But
does it concern you Garrett Cole's giving up so many home runs?
No, not at all. No, that's what he does. Although it's funny to see, he's the first Yankee since Tim Leary in 1990 to allow a home run in his first 7 starts. And if you remember 1990 in the New York Yankees, Tim Leary was an ace of a staff of the Baby Bombers, they were called. Clay Parker headed that group, and Tim Leary was awful. So it's funny to think about the way.
You're saying that Garrett Cole's going to be awful now?
No, they're not even in the same. Like, Tim Leary was a lousy pitcher, and he was the Yankees' ace. The idea that they're like the home run thing is on par. I'm sure his ERA wasn't under 3 for Tim Leary, and I don't think he was 4-1.
What about
7 starts in.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the big man again, going on the IL, Aaron Judge. This is what we've been talking about for years now. The Yankees are going to have a tough decision going forward, figuring out, are we going to sign him long term? And I know, Joe, I
would do a year by year contract.
Joe, I know you are pretty adamant about feeling that Judge should get a big long term contract. But when you see him out, and I know the whole Mike Trout thing, he gets injured. I get that. I'm not saying any of that stuff. But Aaron Judge, he gets hurt again. Looks like he's going on the IL, possibly, as Boone says. What are you going to make of this whole situation too? Cole did not lose the Cy Young after 1 game. The guy was 4-0. And first of all, Shane Bieber, I don't think anybody's beating him right now because he's running away with the AL Cy Young. He's on another level right now. So he didn't lose the Cy Young after 1 game. Was he great the first 4 games? I bet you were saying he was unbelievable. He's winning the Cy Young the first 4 games.
I agree with that. That's what Charles said. This team relies on home runs way too much.
Say it.
There's not a good situational hitter on the team. How many times have we I sent you a stat where I looked at it this morning. Aaron Hicks, it was said 22
he's left. Yeah.
22 runners have been on base when Aaron Hicks has been at bat, and only 2 have scored. That's a problem. See,
yikes!
The Yankees, when they were winning World Series when we were growing up as kids. Now I'm 33 years old. My brother's 28. You think of the &90s teams. There was clutch hitting, 2-out hitting. You know, you had a bunch of guys that were scrappy. They knew how to get on base. The problem is we're not we're a bloop and a blast team. We're always looking for a walk, a hit by Batman, and then a bomb. We can't put 2-3 hits together. It doesn't happen that often. I can't remember the last time I seen a hitting where I saw more than 4 or 5 hits. You know what I mean? Like a good string, a single, a double here, a single, a walk, a fly ball, a sac fly. Like, you don't see it. I don't see it. I know Glaber's out, but he wasn't hitting the ball. We were talking about him as a guy that maybe could win the batting crown, title.
Who picked him to win MVP?
I didn't. I picked Judge, and I picked Mookie Betts.
Well, my guy for the Cy Young's already out for the year, and my guy Soto already got 8 home runs, so he's making.
Listen, Judge was on a great roll. The problem is, Joe, and listen, and tell me if you think I'm stupid to even think this. If it's a situation with Judge, do they go year by year and just say, "Here you go, $15 million this year. You make it, maybe 15 this year, or 2 year with a 1 year option, with a player option." I don't know. I don't think you can give him more than 4 years. Let's just put it that way. I wouldn't. Preferably, I know. Is he deserving? Does he have the name brand? Does he have everything you would want? Yes. Great outfielder, good hitter, does everything right. But I can't give him a 6-year deal and wonder, is he going to be hurt 5 of the 6 years? Like,
probably. He probably will be. But if you don't give him that deal, the Red Sox will. Or the Dodgers will. Somebody will.
Then it's gonna be a bad
somebody
contract.
will pony up.
And the Yankees are going to have a bad contract. Or you trade him, Joe. Trade him and go get a holster of players. Bring in a bunch of pieces.
What do you sound like the Yankee fans on Twitter? Maybe we'll bring in Lindor. Maybe we'll bring in Clevenger.
No, I'm not saying that. But
wait, hold on. Look, here we go again, right? When the Yankees, whenever the Yankees get hurt, right, they can't stay healthy. Don't make any excuses, blah, 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 blah. Steve, we're not going to play this game. And I won't play this game with anybody. I won't. Look, everybody gets hurt. And I know everybody here wants to, make sweet love to Mike Trout in his war. It's so good.
Oh, Rickon Jr.?
Come on, let's talk about
But look, at the end of the day, Mike Trout has been hurt every single year of his career. Why do we say he's injury prone? I mean, it's nonsense. Chris Sale, Kershaw, all these guys are freaking injury prone. But when it's Aaron Judge, we're like, well, let's see if he'll work for $85 on it. No, come on. He's still one of the best players. I don't mean to attack you like that, Ted. No. I'm just pissed. Listen, he's going to get paid. If the Yankees don't pay him, somebody's going to do it. And you're really bringing up something very interesting. Do the Yankees consider what the Red Sox just did? Do you move this guy probably to the Dodgers? Because really, who else is going to be able to afford him? Maybe the Angels.
You already have Stan, Joe. You have Stan on that long-term contract, so you're going to have two
but
guys.
Stan, you got to ask your question.
He is, because of the nature of his contract, is no one's going to take it, and he's not going to opt out of the money, because we talked about this last year when Joe brought this up, that he has an opt-out, but he's not going to opt out of all the money that he's going to get from the Yankees, because who the hell is going to pay him? After what he's done the last 2 years, who the hell is going to pay him and give him the contract that he's going to get? So you either sign him to a yearly contract or give him like something where you did with Hicks, a 4-year deal, 100, and give him some player options or something with some incentives. I'd maybe make it all incentive based. You play 150 games, you're going to get your money. Like, it's weird. I don't know. I feel like I grew up where guys always played baseball and everyone played 150-something games except you, unless you were a catcher.
Why? You look at football players.
Like Jeter. I remember when Jeter slid in the third and got hurt, and it was like the first time Jeter got hurt, and it was like 9 years into his career.
Football players get hurt all the time.
Oh, yeah, no, there's definitely something with these guys.
Hold on 1 second. Did you see the Rays pitching staff? Hold on, I'm going to tell the stat I told you on yesterday. Did you see the Rays pitching staff? How many guys are on the IL, the pitching staff? It's like 9 pitchers. It's unbelievable. And half of them are like significant, impactful players on their thing. But, Joe, so our great guy on Sterling was with Susan Wagner the other night, and they were talking about a stat on and I was hearing it on the radio, and they said, how many pitchers do you think are on the IL for the season in 2018? It said 41. And then they were like, how many in 2019? It was like 57. You know how many pitchers are on the IL this year?
Already?
Already. 91.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's just going on the IL or if they're out for the season or if it's a 10-day or 6-day, but he said the amount of pitchers that are on the IL this year is dramatically much more than the past 2 seasons. And we're not even like 40 games in a season.
It's just concerning.
There's a spring training that we didn't get.
Concerning. It's just concerning to see 2 straight years that last year with 30-plus players, 31 I believe, getting injured. Now this year we're up to 11 players on the IL.
Significant players too.
Significant again, just like last year. It's got to be concerning with this training staff. Multiple years that this has happened.
I don't think it's a training. I think once in a while you got to look at the individual stuff.
Maybe you're right. Yeah, I don't understand it, Joe. It's absurd. It's unheard of to see this. I mean, it's showing right now on the field. They look kind of lackluster, but I got to give it. They had that little postponement with the whole Mets COVID situation. So that's a little thing. They got to get back into the groove of things.
They're doubleheader this week. 2 out of 3 games are doubleheaders.
Oh, I mean, this is a big
Friday and
this is a big deal.
Sunday.
The Yankees need to win because right now, if they continue to slide, we even talk about the Yankees going to make the playoffs.
Oh, they'll make the playoffs because remember they extended the amount of teams.
I guess yeah.
Oh yeah, the Yankees right now are the 5th or the number 5 seed
overall.
Yeah.
Really?
I wasn't aware. I'm saying that it's right now.
Because I don't look at it until when the season gets close to the end.
But it is about.
I just stumbled across that. I wouldn't even have known that if I didn't read it earlier. I wasn't really thinking about that either.
No, that's just you doing your homework. I just want to see from a daily basis how do they play and how do they perform.
It's midway part of the season. So, I mean, it's coming up to that point that I know this is not 100 games anymore or 162 games. This is 60 games. Aaron Boone, I'm not putting any blame on him. I've seen Yankee fans ripping him on Twitter and stuff, and that's stupid.
Yeah, because everyone would do a better job.
Yeah, I know, because everybody's a manager all of a sudden. You can't even make your bed nowadays. You want to tell us you're going to manage the I mean, Joe said he can manage the Yankees. I'd like to see that. I honestly would.
I know I could.
So would you have taken out Tanaka last night?
Would you have taken Tanaka out then?
Would I have taken Tanaka out? If my starter comes to me and tells me he wants to come out, I'm definitely taking him out. I think because, again, beyond analytics, that's always my final test. I'm looking that dude square in the eyes. Can you go? If he comes to me and says he's feeling gassed, he's got no chance of going back out.
Who would be your outfield right now for the Yanks?
Are we talking healthy or
no? Right now.
Well, look at Mike Talkman's got to be. Mike Talkman should be in the lineup every single day. He's a 400 hitter when he's in the starting lineup. Clinton Frazier also needs to be in the lineup, and Aaron Hicks needs to get hot, and he needs to be in the lineup to do that. So that's your outfield right now.
Okay. I think having DJ LeMahieu, not having his presence, really is killing them.
Big time.
I'm telling you, I still think he's one of the most.
When they were like, we should trade Andujar.
I still think he's one of the most valuable players in baseball. I know it sounds crazy, but I think DJ LeMahieu is one of the most valuable players because
of course, he's
what
batting
he does.
435.
He leads the majors right now in the average, and let's see what he says. Big. Okay. Well, we got to see. We got to see what happens, Steve. I mean, there's still a halfway point. We're getting there. We got to see what happens.
I think that's poor. How are you going to blame? I mean, it wasn't them. It was the pitching that didn't get what? Again, I don't understand how Steve would not lay the blame for any other team on injuries or even bullpen ineffectiveness, as we're talking about the Mets. But Aaron Judge was banged up, and that's the reason the Yankees didn't get home field advantage. That's a ludicrous thing to say. You're making a serious jump on that. I can't even follow that. I can't even follow that. That doesn't even make sense. It was the pitching, plain and simple. And the guy that beat us last year, that should be the difference maker. But you're exactly right, Trev. DJ LeMahieu not being there is sorely missed. Yes. This team is so reliant on the home runs. He's one of the few guys that does come through in the clutch in big moments, and to not have him in there, it's become quite apparent that they're missing their top guy.
Ted just made a good point. They don't have a replacement.
Sorry, Estrada and Tyler Wade are not. The difference between DJ LeMahieu and those two guys is much greater than if you had Andujar and Gio.
They have depth in the outfield.
Here's the thing. You can't guarantee that, Steve, if they were healthy, that they would automatically have gotten home field. That's just an opinion. We would hope so. We would think so. And absolutely, if they were healthy, you're probably right. They would have gotten home field. But at the end of the day, they weren't. They still won over 100 games, and they still could not win when it mattered because they did not have clutch hitting. And we also know there was a call sorry for that echo and noise. That was called the trash can getting banged.
Yeah, I was just going to say, right? And there was garbage cans, so stop that.
Don't talk about Rister's team like that.
Again.
I respect it, but I don't think you can guarantee that. Right. It's an opinion, but you can't make that observation because there's no guarantee that would have happened. What's to say that they still wouldn't have struggled or whatever? Just to say this, listen, the difference between baseball and other sports is if LeBron's out, the Lakers aren't making the playoffs or for a significant amount of time because his impact on the field is. If Patrick Mahomes is not playing quarterback or Tom Brady or any quarterback that's a significant starter in the NFL not there and you have to play your backup, you're probably not going to make the playoffs. In baseball, Judge could be out for 100 games and the Yankees could still win 100 games. He could be out for 100 and the Yankees could win as many games.
If you don't believe that,
because that's the difference between baseball and football and basketball because quarterbacks, we've seen it before. We've seen,
if they don't believe, and if you don't,
the Patriots,
if you don't believe that statement, just look what the Yankees did last year. Still won 100 games with 30-plus players on the IL.
There is no guarantee. And listen, I appreciate the comments. I always love for him tuning in. Listen, does his opinions differ from a lot of ours? Absolutely. But to make that judgment and say, hey, listen, that's hindsight. You're saying that now as the Monday morning quarterback.
Yes, it's easy to say that the Yankees would have done anything after it didn't happen. You could also make the argument Aaron Judge, if there weren't trash cans in 2017, would have been the MVP. But we'll never know that because that's how this all works. So they have to get healthy and they have to play. That's how the Yankees are going to win.
We got to hit the ball. We got to hit the ball.
You've got like 6 or 7 superstars on the New York Yankees out, and Steve doesn't, and these fans don't want to give the Yankees a pass. But if Acuna Jr. misses a game, you're like, well, it's not the real Braves. They're down that one guy. Stop. I can't.
Joseph, it's us Yankee fans being harsh, and because we have such a what's the word?
High
standards that we expect that we're supposed to win every day. And if we lose 2 or 3 or 4 in a row,
Joseph,
the world is crashing.
As always, thank you for joining us on a very different type of show once again. I appreciate you, as always, for joining us and make it a different type of show and a fun show.
My pleasure. And like I said, I'm proud of you guys to come where you've come from, where you started to where you are now. Again, that's the open-mindedness that we are looking for in this country, and I think more people really need to do that. It's not political. It's not political. We're all humans and we're all Americans. We should love each other and treat each other with respect. By the way, roll call coming up at 4 o'clock. Right
that?
here.
Oh, Yankees.
So what do you
on the
got?
CMG network.
What is your basis going to be on the roll call today?
Just gonna pound the crap out of everything we just talked about. I'll just reiterate it over and over again. Again, I think I mean we hit everything really. I think that's of importance. And I think right up to Mike Talkman's got to be in the lineup every day. I think they're crazy not to. That kid's so productive, and he's terrible off the bench.
Yeah. Just bringing Ford off the bench. He's batting like 435, like 6 for 13.
Yeah, that's a bull bat off the bench.
Joe, last thing before you go, and then Trevor will end it. Prediction for the weekend: the Yankees versus the Mets. How do you think we'll look? How do you think we'll perform? And are you also going to talk about the Hap situation with him possibly the Yankees holding him back from the innings? Because if he doesn't get 10 starts or 61 and 1/3 innings, he loses out on $17 million.
You know, it's funny. I find that really interesting that he's like, I'd like to be out there every day. And it's like, but nobody wants you out there every day. So there is an issue. You're not pitching well, and they don't want to lose games. Yep. So even though we've got starters out, it's like, oh, is there anybody other than Hap that can go today? If he starts pitching better and they started doing that, you know me, I'd have his back in a heartbeat. But he's not pitching well. They don't want him to throw because he doesn't pitch well. Turn it around. If his next appearance, he throws 4 scoreless, great. Then give him another start. But if he's just going to keep getting lit up, then
there's no
too
point.
bad. File a grievance, you big baby.
So you got
pitch better.
You got the Yankees sweeping the Mets?
No, I don't like all these doubleheaders. I don't like baseball even being played at all. And I this is exactly why. How many more doubleheaders are these guys going to have to play this season? And with more cancellations, and if these protests turn into something, and you got more games canceled, another COVID outbreak, this is already stressing me out to no end, and it's clearly stressing the Yankees' ligaments out because they can't stay. I don't know. I'm losing my mind.
Joseph.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it as always. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on a different type of show and an uncomfortable show for many people. But hey, guess what? We got to have the uncomfortable conversations. We need to be better as a country. Let's start loving one another. I know it's hard to say, but we really need to start loving one another. Stop the hate, because the more hate, the more this country's going into the ground, and we're not going to survive as a country. It's like a house. Can't be pointing the fingers. We got to come together as one. And if we can't, there ain't going to be no America anymore. It's plain and simple. Right versus wrong. Let's do the right thing, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. We are streaming on all social media. Lost connection. We're back, though. We're back. So drives, if you want these type of shirts, they're very nice, very comfortable. They look great. People are buying. They're going like hotcakes.
You love that word.
I love hotcakes. I told you get happy. You love food. But ladies and gentlemen, everybody have a wonderful weekend. We love you guys. Thank you for the support as always. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are out.
Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.